Picture a forest so alive it seemed to breathe alongside its creatures. The sun pierced through the towering treetops, painting the ground with golden patches, while birdsong mingled with the rustle of leaves. In this magical setting lived a tiny ant, unassuming to the world but known among her kind for being dedicated, organized, and above all, wise. At first, her life seemed perfect. She was always ahead of the others, gathering food, building safe tunnels, and planning for the future. But behind this efficiency beat a heart that began to stir differently, small yet restless, because despite all she did, she felt she didn't shine as brightly as some of the forest's other residents. One day, walking in silence, she stopped before the peacock. He fanned his wings, spreading colors that made even the rainbow seem pale. The other animals gathered around, enchanted, and cheered his dance. The ant sighed. Everyone looks at him. Everyone's captivated. Why does no one notice me? Days later, her eyes locked onto the butterfly, fluttering lightly as if born only to play with the breeze. "Oh, if only I had wings," thought the little ant, feeling a pang in her chest. "Why am I doomed to crawl on the ground, carrying burdens while she dances through the sky?" And as if that weren't enough, there was the squirrel, leaping from branch to branch with such grace and speed it seemed to defy gravity. With every jump, the ant's heart shrank a little more. If I could at least climb trees, maybe someone would notice me. Time passed, and what started as a wish turned into poison. The once joyful and active ant began to lose herself in bitter thoughts. The work that had always been her source of pride now felt like a punishment. She lagged behind on her tasks, got distracted, walked with her head down. When someone asked, "What's wrong? Why are you always sad?" she'd just force a smile and stay silent. Until one day the sky changed. Heavy clouds covered the forest, and soon a storm unleashed its full fury. The wind tore branches. The rain turned the ground to mud and rivers overflowed. Chaos spread like never before. The butterfly, with her delicate wings, was quickly overcome by the water. Drenched, she could no longer fly. The squirrel, frantic, watched his favorite tree fall, leaving him homeless. The peacock, once so proud, had waterlogged feathers, unable to fan his radiant tail. While everyone suffered underground, the ant colony remained safe. Their tunnels, built with patience and effort, stood firm. The little ant looked around, saw the safety they lived in, and glancing up at the ravaged forest, felt something inside her break. "I wasted so much time envying others," she thought. "And now they need help. Can I do something?" In that moment the answer sparked within her, clear and strong as thunder. She gathered her companions and spoke with resolve. "Friends, it's time to show what we can do. Let's help those in need. Small, yes, but together we can save the forest." The ants didn't hesitate. Hundreds marched in formation, each with a mission. Some organized to carry the butterfly to a dry spot, careful not to harm her fragile wings. Others gathered leaves to build a makeshift bed for the shivering squirrel. Another group tended to the peacock, clearing water from his feathers one by one until he could lift his head. The animals watched in disbelief. Such tiny creatures, and yet capable of such compassion. The butterfly, though weak, smiled. The squirrel, resting on his bed of leaves, took a deep breath for the first time since the disaster. The peacock, moved, simply said, "I've never seen beauty greater than yours, little ant." When the sun shone again, revealing a forest still wounded but alive, the animals gathered around the ant. The butterfly said, "You don't have wings, but you carried me to safety. Today I flew through your effort." The squirrel added, True strength isn't in showing what we have, but in serving with what we can. The peacock concluded, "You taught me that beauty isn't color, it's heart." The little ant felt her chest swell with something she'd never felt before, pride in being herself. For the first time, she didn't want to be another creature. She didn't want wings, colorful feathers, or the ability to leap. She just wanted to be herself. From that day on, she stopped comparing herself. She understood that every being has a unique purpose. The butterfly was born to fly, the peacock to dazzle, the squirrel to race through branches. And her? She was born to build, to endure, to serve, and that was big enough to change the fate of an entire forest. What once seemed like weakness, being small, crawling on the ground, was now her strength. Because while everyone looked upward, distracted by brilliance and grace, it was she who with steady steps upheld the foundation of everything. Time passed, and the little ant never again let jealousy consume her. Whenever she saw the peacock dance, the butterfly flutter, or the squirrel leap, she smiled, not because she wanted to be like them, but because she knew every beauty exists only when all coexist. Deep down, they all depended on each other. Her days became full of energy again, but now, unlike before, it wasn't just about working or standing out. It was about serving, sharing, and inspiring, and that made her greater than any wing, tail, or leap could ever make her. The forest never forgot the storm, but above all, it never forgot who shone when everyone else lost their light. The story spread from mouth to mouth until even the youngest rabbit kits could recite, "Never underestimate an ant, for the smallest body can hold the greatest heart." And you, have you ever noticed how often you've spent energy comparing yourself to someone else? How many times have you looked outward, wishing for what you don't have, while forgetting the quiet gifts you already carry? The ant learned late, but she learned. True greatness isn't in wanting to be someone else, but in embracing who we already are and using it to transform the world around us. Being small was never a weakness. It was always an invitation to show that the heart is what truly measures greatness. In the end, the forest bloomed again, each creature fulfilling its role. But when someone spoke of beauty, strength, or importance, they all recalled the same story. That of the tiny ant who, when the storm came, showed that greatness isn't measured by size but by impact. So what did you think of this story? Did it remind you of a time when you too compared yourself to others and forgot your own worth? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And while you're at it, share some ideas. What other stories would you like to see here? Who knows, your suggestion might become the next video on the channel.